Does everybody have a Gmail account? If you don't have one, you can use your wncc.edu because it is a Gmail account. But we're going to go to, and you don't have to take this whole thing in, but if you just do a search for Google Colab, it'll come up to this. It'll have Google Colab. So if I'm just searching, I would type in Google. In fact, that's how I usually get there. Google Colab, and yep, there it is. Colab.research.google.com. And you can sign in with your, okay, now that we're in here, we're going to go to, there may be a new button. I have no idea where it is. If we go to File, we're going to create a new notebook, and notice it says New Notebook in Drive. So Google Colab stores all of its notebooks in your Google Drive. So that way you know where they are, if you want to download it or something like that. So we do a new notebook, and it'll create a brand new blank notebook. Now, this is not a very fun name, and it's not very descriptive, but if you click up here, you want to leave this part in, the I, P, Y, and B. And we'll do math operations, because that's one of the things we're going to look at. So we're going to look at what we've done in MATLAB and how you can do the same thing in Python and a Google. So we have two different types of things that we can have in a notebook. We can have code, we can have text. And there's actually a feature like this in MATLAB called LiveScripts, which we'll get to at some point. All right. So here, oh, I don't know why I have it that way.
One question.
Sure.
What's with the release notes on the side?
So we're going to start out our notebook, even though it already has a coding thing in here, we're going to add a piece of text to describe our notebook. So the neat thing about Jupyter Notebooks versus and LiveScripts and MATLAB is that you can type in explanations, have your code, type in stuff, have your code. You can like do all kinds of things in here. So this is going to be our math operations. I mean, I don't know that's a great name, but it is math operations. What you see over here is just a preview of what it will look like once you're done. You click somewhere else, like up here, now you just see that. If you want to open that cell, I think you double click on it, see how it opens up so you can edit it. And then when you're done, you go somewhere else. Well, I don't want this below my code. I want it above my code. Move cell up, move cell down. Yep, much better. Right? It's much nicer. So we're going to start coding. To do the math operations we're going to do, which are beyond the normal things built into Python, like Python does plus, minus, all that sort of stuff, just like MATLAB does. But because it's a general purpose language, it doesn't have everything built in and running from the start, because it can do a gazillion things. So if we want to do things like the square root function and some of the other types of, I guess the square root's the only thing we're doing, we have to import math, which is a library. The library is a bunch of code that somebody else wrote to make your life easier. With Python, we import lots of specialized things that we need because Python has all kinds of people that just for fun make these things. It's an open source. So math isn't going to make any difference at this point. Now, if you want, it does save automatically, but if you're paranoid, I do Control S every so often without even paying attention that I've done it. Just saying. So, how do we do comments in Python? Of course, it's not the same as MATLAB, is it? If we were in C++, yeah, we do that. You'd think they could have all gotten together, but you know, it's the way it goes. We're going to do basic math operations. So this is just a comment like our percentage size does in MATLAB. So as we work, you'll see lots of parallels where it's the same, but it's different, but the concepts are the same. So one of the things that happens, and I've discovered this over the last 3 years, working with a colleague in Southeast Community College, is introducing another language like fifth or sixth week actually helps you learn the other language better. It's confusing for the first week or so, but then it'll start clicking into place because the concepts we're starting again here, we've already been through in math. And then you'll say, oh, I see, that's the same thing we were doing over there. And it is, it's all the same, just a different way of putting it together. So the first thing we also need to learn, which is different, we have DISP in MATLAB. Well, in Python, we have print.
In Python,
Excuse me?
in Python.
Python print displays things to the console. Just like it does in the Python class. So, now I got some sort of AI thing or billing thing trying to help me, isn't it? I have no idea how I'd even turn that off for now. Because when I'm doing this stuff, I don't want something helping me. Just a second, let me see if I can find that. Okay, it has the prompt thing. Okay, I don't know how to find out. Because when you're learning, you don't necessarily want anybody holding your hand and helping you do everything. All right, so we've printed. How do we run this guy?
F5, no.
Yeah, no, F5, we're hitting this guy. Oh, no, it's Control Enter, but F5 was a good thought. Because F5 is fairly common in like Visual Studio Code, and there's all kinds of programs that do that. I think probably because F5 has a different purpose in web browsers is my guess. In a web browser, it refreshes. And the first time you run something, it's going to sit there for a minute because what it's doing is all the calculations and everything are taking place on Google's dime. Nothing happens on your computer. You could do computations on here for days, and they're using their computing power for you. And then eventually it'll come back and there's your answer. Now, the next time you run something, because your Python engine is now spun up, like it started the engine, it's going to run a lot more quickly after that. Well, let's go on. Sum equals A plus B. Oh, I forgot to give these values. I should do, I don't know why I did A and B. I'm going to do num1 and num2, like thing 1 and thing 2. Oh, I should use the same numbers I had there. So, whoops. In Python is one of the few languages where you don't put anything at the end except in certain circumstances. MATLAB, you can do the same thing, but if you don't put semicolons at the end, then MATLAB just willy-nilly displays everything everywhere and you can't control what comes out. So it's not required in MATLAB, but it's a good idea. It's giving you squiggles here because it doesn't like the fact that these variables have not been defined. Same as MATLAB. If there's no value in a variable, you can't add it up. So it's the same stuff. This is our hard-coded input. Here's our calculation. And we're going to print out our sum. There. We have a working program at this point. Input, calculation, output. All the mathematical, most of the mathematical operations are the same, sort of. There, 13. Okay, so remember that whole fprint business and everything that we were doing? Well, the formatting printing business is in every language there is. Python's, I think, is the simplest version of it. So if we're going to do text, we surround things with, like if I want to say the sum is, or something like that, not just print a number, I surround what I want to print with double quotes. But just like an fprintf, I have to have a way to distinguish between the text, and the variable. Sum is just what I wanted to show. This sum is actually the result of the value that's stored here. And this is all in the tutorial. F is just like fprintf. It says, we're going to format some text and some values. And you put curly braces around. Oh, I didn't think of that. There we go. Is that better? Now you don't have to squint so much. So Python has really easy number formatting, where fprintf is not quite as intuitive. You don't have to do the comma and all that stuff. You stick in your variable, put curly braces, stick in an F at the beginning, you're done. There. So now we've combined our output of string number, strings, and variable values. And that's pretty much the whole tutorial, is just going through some basic operations and learning how to run the program. Couple of things that are, well, there's several things that are a little different. Let me just go through this. Product, difference, quotient are the same. If we do exponentiation, we have A, B. A to the power of B. Oh, I mean, num1 to the power of num2, sorry. I'm gonna rewrite that tutorial. There. So that's num1 to the power of num2. Not the same as MATLAB.
So it's 2 asterisks.
Oh, there is one that's just a shortcut for squaring, but. Okay, anyway. It is weird. And I don't know of any other languages that do that. So if I do square root, oh, see, it actually, yeah, this is not any fun. I have to find out how to turn that off. It shouldn't be completing things for me. I mean, for me, it's fine. I already know how to do this. But believe it or not, the kinesthetic, meaning the actual physical typing of the stuff by you, helps your brain understand what's going on. So I need to figure out how to turn that.
In settings,
It is. Okay, tools, settings, good to know.
AI system.
So this is the one. And I'm gonna just turn them both off. Otherwise, it's gonna help you out and that's fine. But it's only fine, like for me, I already know how to do all this stuff. So I just want to speed up my workflow. So AI is great for speeding up your workflow, making you more effective. It's not so great at when you're doing typing in and creating your own code and learning how to figure it out here. Because the AI, when it generates a program, is not really figuring out the program. It's not solving it. It's looking at a gigantic database of information that's gathered, and it's all been indexed, been taken apart by little values and numbers. And it says, well, most likely after we type in math, it's going to be dot square root based on all the other stuff I've seen. So it's a very gigantic, fast text predictor. It does not have any idea of what it's actually doing as far as coding. It just spits out what it already knows, and sometimes it puts together in different orders. So current generation of AI can appear very smart. It's not. Square root. And I'm going to keep that pattern so I don't have to type it every time. So math is referencing our library. And in that library, we have a square sqrt function, and this is what we're operating on. So this is built into MATLAB. We don't have to do that. But they only include things like that when it's necessary so that the program is not so big that you can't start it on a, unless you have a supercomputer. Because there's thousands of libraries for Python. All right, so what are we doing here? Oh, square root. And we do square root. Now this completion is looking at what you've done before, and it's helping you retype it, which is different. This is called IntelliSense or autocomplete. So it's not typing in things for you and thinking what you're going to do. This is based on what you've done before. And if you press tab, Then you get your variable name the same as it is back here. So they're both the same. It does make your typing more accurate. And there it is. We got part of this done and we've got the little start into. Wow, see how fast that ran? Oh my goodness, look at that. You have to squeeze your stress ball very much through that? Well, this is like starting again with MATLAB, and I think that's part of why this leapfrogging of learning stuff works fairly decent.